Hello guys, welcome to the next part of my video on how to get jobs at top 5 tech companies in the world as software developers, that is Amazon, Google, Microsoft and Apple. And before I start, I would like to tell you that I have a bonus for you right now. As in the previous video we talked about the books that you should refer to if you want to get into these kind of companies, and in this edition I would be talking about two extra books that you should be like referring to, and that is kind of two bonus books which might give you a boost in your aspirations for for getting into the world's best tech companies. And before I get into that, I have been getting feedback that my slides are not proper, as in I have not jotted down the bullet points of what I'm speaking. However, the whole point of not making it as a PowerPoint presentation but making it as a video is that there is so much stuff to jot down about, is that it is an overwhelming process and I really don't have time for this, and I completely understand if you're angry on me for that, but I really can't help it because I'm actually scaling up my own software company, which I want to be a next $1 trillion company. So there hasn't been any $1 trillion companies in the world till now, but the five companies that we are talking about right now might become over the next decade as the first $1 trillion companies, and I too want my company to be a $1 trillion company. I'm working my asses off for that, and hence I think that I'm too busy to basically jot down the steps, but at the same time I really want to help you. So if you are really the candidate who can go the extra mile and sit with a pen and a paper or open a notepad or on the computer as and when you are watching the video, and just pause the video and jot down all the important information, that will be great. And also most of the important things that I speak of, that the some of the links that I refer to or the websites that I refer to, I would be giving the links to those in the description, so you should not really worry about those kind of stuff. Also, there will be a lot of links and the internet resources in this specific slide because we are going to talk about resources over the internet. But before we go into that, as I told you, there are two extra books that I would be basically referring you, and you can go to Amazon and buy them. And I would insist that you should buy all the books that I talked about, and then read from all of it. Start to read from all of it, and then decide which one suits which one suits you the best. Because a lot of time there might be there might be resonance of the frequency in which the author in which the author's brain work and your brain work. So it should take some time to decide that which set of books you should be going ahead with, and hence I would say that you should buy all the books and then decide which one you should go ahead with. Or if your friends have already purchased, you can borrow it for a day or two and go through it and see how you feel about it. So I forgot to mention, not forgot, but I kept it as a bonus for this video because I felt that last video was kind of overwhelming, especially with the design books and the comparison that I did for the books on software design. And the reason I did that is because software design is something that comes natural to me, and I'm really passionate about it. And I also want to insinuate that passion in my viewers. So I talk a little bit more about it than than I talked about other books, like the books on data structures and algorithms, etc. So one of the books that is really good that I did not mention in the previous slide was Elements of Programming Interviews by Adnan Aziz, Amit Prakash and Sung Sim Lee. So you can actually search for this book on Amazon or whichever website you refer, or you can Google it or whatever. And then there is another book known as Programming Interview Exposed by John Monaghan. So yeah, these are the two books, the two bonus books, that I'm actually adding over the previous slides. So you can refer to it. And also, I would like to just before getting into the topic about what are the resources that we should be referring at on the internet, I would also like to highlight a tweet by by this guy, Max Howell, who is basically the founder of Homebrew. So if you don't know about Homebrew, it is like the it is like the installer package for Macintosh. So just like in Linux we have apt-get, or in CentOS apt-get is for Ubuntu, and for CentOS we are also using some package manager. So similarly for Macintosh we are using something known as Homebrew, with which we basically install the new packages. So this is a tweet from this is a tweet from founder of Homebrew. So Google actually, so 90% of the software developers at Google can basically use the product Homebrew. However, the founder of Homebrew, Max Howell, was rejected when he applied for for a job as a software developer at Google, and the reason was that he failed to invert a binary search tree, or no, it was a binary tree on a whiteboard. So he actually lashed out a tweet at Google: 90% of our engineers use the software you wrote, but you can't invert a binary tree on whiteboard, so fuck off. So yeah, this was a interesting tweet by Homebrew, which basically highlights two things: that even the smartest of smart people get rejected at Google, and companies like Google. And the second thing it highlights is that if you get rejected at these companies, it does not matter. It does not mean that you are not that good, because he got rejected from this company and went on to build at least a multi-million dollar company. It might touch a billion in future, but it's right now a multi-million dollar company. So basically, this also adds up to what I was talking about previously, that you should never ever give up, right? You should always, you should, whenever you get rejected, you should pick yourself up, take proper feedback, and then retry, improve, etc. So yeah, so this was one example that I wanted to give, and I also want to tell you that when this entire series is over, I will be adding one extra video which will exclusively deal on how to crack interviews at Google, because from the feedback that I'm getting, I'm feeling that Google is actually the most preferred company among all five to work for a software developer in the tech industry. So I'll do a separate video on Google, and also I'll do a separate video on Amazon, because these days people are crazy about e-commerce, and Amazon is the biggest e-commerce company in the world. So I'll do two separate videos for Google and Amazon. And the reason why they are asking so much in-depth question, and they are grilling the fundamentals so much, is this can be understood by a simple example. So in India, and I'm pretty sure it is a similar case in all the big countries in the world, whenever people are hiring for military, like Air Force, Navy, Army, Coast Guards, and commandos, for these branches, whenever they are hiring, their selection bar is really really high. You have every personnel has to go through a very very rigorous SSB process, in which their physical, mental toughness, emotional quotient, intelligence quotient, everything is tested. Even though the kind of test they go through, they might not in their entire service, they might not or get a chance to apply that level of persistence or that level of diligence on which they are tested for. However, they just want to make sure that shall the need arise, people should be ready to go through those kind of things that that they test during the SSB. And I'm pretty sure it is same in all the countries, all the tough countries around the world, like United States, Israel, Russia, etc. Just to relate it to how that relates in the tech industry, we know that there will not be any another Y2K problem, right? We all know about the Y2K problem. So if you don't know about it, you should go back and Google search and do some research. Read a couple of Wikipedia articles on Y2K problem. So we all know what Y2K problem was, right? So if a condition like Y2K problem arises at companies like Amazon or Google, they should have the engineers, software developer, and research and development teams that should basically be able to tackle with that kind of problem, even though they are pretty sure that this is not going to happen anytime soon, or probably it is not going to happen ever. But still, shall this problem arise, they should be in a situation to deal with it. That is the reason why their hiring bar is so high, right? So now I'll be talking about what are the free resources that you can access over the internet to basically improve your chances and practice and get into the companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, and Apple. So yeah, so just to see the openings, like which companies are hiring, and besides these big company, what are the other startups that is hiring, you can go to Angel List and Hacker News to see. And you can actually search on Google also, that what are the different kinds of websites, what are the different websites which are prevalent in your region, which are very similar to Angel List and Hacker News, that is basically hiring, that is basically hiring for the tech jobs. Something to add here is that a very interesting way to Google is that you can simply write competitors of Angel List, or or if let's say you are living in New Delhi, so what you can do is that you can write websites similar to, or places similar to Angel List in New Delhi. That will basically give you results of the websites that are very similar to Angel List, and which are basically hiring in your region, that is New Delhi. So you can similarly do the same thing for your area or your country or your city, right? And then there is a very interesting feature that I have observed in most of these kind of website is that you can upload multiple profile from the same ID. So this can actually give you an access to basically to basically leverage different kind of resume. So if some company is doing more work on the let's say lower level like embedded stuffs or middleware stuffs, and other companies are mostly like e-commerce. So and you want to have stand a chance on getting interviewed at both the companies, you might be passionate about both of them, so you don't want to like prefer one over the other. So what you can do is that you can upload two separate resumes from two separate profiles that would be operated by the same ID, that would be operated, you can log into that account with your single email ID. And one resume you can be like, you can talk more about your achievements in the embedded domain, and in the other you can talk more about your achievements the e-commerce domain or your expertise in the e-commerce domain. So that might help you. And even if that kind of facility is not provided by these websites, nobody is stopping you to generate two email IDs and then log into it, unless and until there is a specific term and condition clause wherein they restrict you to do that, they forbid you to do it. You can definitely do that and take advantage of that. So there are a few companies where the hiring manager, so I have observed that if you're coming from weak background, as in as in maybe you are from a service based company, and these all the five big companies are the product based companies, right? So if you want to make a switch from that to here, from there to here, even though you might not be like even though you might be an expert in your field, however, if there might be narrow mindedness in the hiring manager that since you are from the service based background, you might not be that much of a fit for their company, and you might spoil their culture, which is, I would agree that this is not a good thing or to do on the part of hiring manager, to have such biases in their mind. But but there are some bad hiring managers. In this case, you can make sure that you don't do anything over and top more to give them a rejection point. This actually reminds me of a Tyrion's dialogue, Tyrion Lannister's dialogue from Game of Thrones, that Tywin Lannister hates him for what he is and not for what he did. So yeah, you can't really help that bias as a candidate. But what you can actually do is that you can make sure that you can minimize the impact that you get because of these bias. So sometimes this phobia comes from the fact that product-based environments, in the product-based environment, there are many tools which are used, and there and these tools make sure that there is systematic processes in place, right? So these processes are more systematic, and these processes are more mature in product based companies than service based companies, simply because product based companies, the product line has been going on for very long, and that is the main bread and butter for that company. So definitely that is more mature than service based company, in which projects keep coming and going and clients keep changing, right? So some such tools that we are talking about are automation tools, continuous integration tool, deployment tool, security tool, and other checking tool like static analysis tools, etc. Right. So what we basically should do is that we should have a very good idea, very good control command, or on how these tools work. So you should definitely be talking to your friends. If you are in a service-based background, you should definitely be talking to your friends who are in top-notch product-based companies or even tier two product-based companies to understand how these tools works. So some few other tools that you should be like checking are these security tools, and tools for tracking tasks like Jira, and a few other tools to track the health of the project in an agile environment like version 1, etc. So you should actually Google search that what are the competitors and the alternatives for version 1, and have a little bit of confidence in them, see how they are working. You should also make sure that you have really good command over how SVN and how JIT and Stash, these kind of code management systems work, code management and build system work. And there are a few bug tracking tools like Bugzilla, etc., that you should be thorough with and how they work. The responsibility of an engineer in a product based company is way more than in a service based company on an average. Hence it is always advisable to talk to your friends on work culture and the day to day things they deal with, in the production environment and in the coding environment. So that will basically help in mitigating the kind of bias that is already there in the mind of the hiring manager, if it is there. uh, so there are a lot of places, I will not name any of them, but you can actually do your own research. So there are a lot of places wherein you can increase your web presence, and whenever you are making your profile on such places, you should use SEO tools, and you should use SEO, search engine optimization best practices, and make your profile in a very very SEO, search engine friendly way. So there are some and then there are specific sites And then there are specific sites wherein you can actually find the mail IDs of the recruiter. So what you should do essentially is that so you can like LinkedIn and all, so what you should actually do is that you should go to google.com and search specific site for email ID. For example, you can go to google.com and then you can do a site specific search. So how it works is that you will write site colon linkedin.com, and then if you want to basically be hired at Google, you should write Google technical recruiter. You may use professional service to make resume as well. So there are a lot of companies who basically charge you some money, but they will make a standard resume which will be up to the market standard, and will meet all the requirement that will enhance your chances to get into those companies. Amazon, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, and Apple. However, I will not if you have extra cash, you can go for it. Otherwise, what you can do is that you can download a template and see a couple of good resumes. I'll probably try to find a good resume, and then I'll walk you through it in one of the videos. But even if I don't do that, you should actually search on the Google, and you should also see the good resumes of your friend that have landed up great jobs, and you use that as a template, and you should basically make that kind of a resume. And one more the pointer that I wanted to throw you about interview is that this is not really related to the this specific slide, but this is something that I really wanted to tell you, and I think this is the right time to tell you that when you are being interviewed, sometimes the interviewer is more nervous than you. So you can actually smile and shake, and that would really help even them as much as it will help you to calm down the entire environment, and it will basically ease out any tension that is there in the in the interview room or something, right? So and I think I've already told this, but I think this is something that I should speak about again because this is really important. So when you are solving a question, you should actually think out loud, and basically the way you think matters a lot. Efficiency and time and space efficiencies do matter a lot, but end result does matter a lot, but also how you arrive at that end result and the way in which you think also also will go hand in hand with the with your chances of getting selected in that company, because the recruiter should know that you have not mugged up the answer and you have come up with the answer on spot. Hence it will go a very very long way in in basically highlighting the way you think, right? So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is that is that how many questions should you be expecting in each round, and how much time you should, and how much time would probably be allotted to you in each round. And I'll also talk about that for shortlisting. If there are a lot of applications for a specific for a specific position, then there might be a coding round in the beginning, or there might be a phone screening round wherein they will call you on phone, and then if you perform well, only then there will be an on-site interview. And there might be something known as a coder pad interview, wherein basically it will be the interview will be on a phone call, but you will be expected to write the code in real time, and sometimes that code must will also be compiled against certain test cases what you have written. So make sure that your code is production ready, or at least your code is compiling properly, right? So there is coderpad.com is the website wherein you can see how basically these kind of phone come coding interviews happen, wherein you will be given a problem statement and then you will have to code it, and then based on the mood and the environment and the time that is available, your code might have to pass a few test cases that will actually run, basically wherein your code will be compiled in test case will be passed. In other cases, if the interviewer is pretty much convinced, then you might not need to basically run those code, but make sure that what you are writing is production ready, or at least compile ready. Make sure it is properly indented and it looks good. And I have already talked about confirmation bias, and that the best answer is not the one that is most efficient, but the one that is already there in the interviewer's head, right? So while writing the code on the coder pad, you should make sure. Similarly, on the on the phone screen round, what I would advise is that when you're talking on phone, it is a good practice to keep a pen and a paper with you, and when the questions is asked, you should actually jot down the program on a piece of paper, and then you should basically read it out to the interviewer, explain his logic, and tell him what are the test cases that you have tested your code against, right? And sometimes there are websites like HackerRank and stuff wherein basically there will be a coding round in the beginning itself. So this is a very very highly automated test around coding environment, ID, online code development environment, wherein a specific question will be given to you, and you will be expected to code up the solution or a specific function, and then there will be, ready-made test cases that will be run against these functions. So you should definitely look how HackerRank kind of test works. And these how basically the pattern of these interview questions are is that once you are having an on-site interview or even a phone interview, you can expect it to go almost for 40-45 minutes, and for there will probably be 2 or 3 questions, and for each questions you will get to somewhere between 15 to 25 minutes. And you should remember that if you're taking too much time in one question, then that is kind of a red flag. So you should make sure that you don't take too much of time per question. And also, if you feel that if you're stuck in one question, then you should definitely request the interviewer to change that question. That will definitely have a negative impact, but answering 0 questions and taking 1 hour is basically not that good. The rather, if you answer the first question, if you basically pass the first question and then you get 2 more questions and you're able to answer both of them correctly, then that is a better situation. And this is a better off, you will be better off than not answering any question and basically consuming all the time. It also depends on luck, because sometimes a question that might sound easy will consume a lot more time than questions that basically are sounding difficult. And also, there might be some question that is, when asked to you on spot, you are not able to come up with a solution, but then it might not be that tough question, and once the interview is over, the answer will strike you. It has happened to me a couple of times, and I think it might happen, maybe because of the nervousness, or because of the pressure, your mind starts underperforming. So how you can basically overcome is that you should keep practicing, keep writing code on the computer, keep running it, and then keep practicing on a whiteboard or a piece of paper, and keep giving interviews one after the other. That way you will actually overcome this kind of nervousness. And if you want to get into a company like Amazon or Google, what basically happens is that there will probably be 7 to 8 rounds, and out of which the last round might be an HR round. But for a lot of companies, there are no HR rounds. They directly ask you salary, and they basically match your expectations. And then the penultimate round might be a director or CTO or VP round, and the round before that might be a hiring manager round. And all the rounds before hiring manager round will basically be technical rounds. And if you are being interviewed for a senior level, then the lastest of the technical round will be a high level design round, and before that there will be a low level design round. And besides that, there will be data structure round, algorithm round, and then there might be a bar raiser round, or basically a problem solving round. So what basically bar raiser is a really dreaded concept for Amazon. It is kind of it has been in around for some time, and people have been talking a lot of things about it. So you will never know when your bar raiser interview is going on. And what basically happens in bar raiser is that Amazon wants to make sure that when they are hiring any engineer, he has to be any software developer, development engineer, he has to be better than the 70 to 75% of the software development engineer that is already there in the company. And the guy who will be taking will be having a lot of experience, and by talking to you, he'll be able to make out how good of an engineer you are. So that way what happens is that their overall bar keeps going up and up, because every new hire will be better than 75 percentile of the previous hires. So that is how bar raiser work. And then there are a lot of Quora posts that you can go through that will basically not only motivate you and put you in the mindset of getting into these big companies, but then they will also help you in preparation, and by reading the experiences of other people, how they prepared for it, right? Because we know that the selection rate at these companies are kind of less than 5%. So you do need motivation, and other people's experience will work. So what I will do is that I will post the Quora link of 1 or 2 such experiences, and then you can basically from there on navigate your own way, search for the similar questions, etc., from that point onwards, right? You should definitely practice. So I will just name the websites from now on, and I have done enough of the I have done enough talking in this video. So I'll just speak the name of the websites and mention them in the comment section, so that you can, not comment section, but in the video description section, and you can basically go to those websites and see how they work, and start with anyone which suits you the best. So you should definitely practice competitive programming on how HackerRank. And HackerRank, basically a lot of people I have seen, they criticize for the lack of creativity, right? Because whether either you get the output or not, and generally the questions are tough, even though you can set the level on which you want to like get the questions. There is a level 1, level 2, and then there is expert level, so you can actually set. But in general it is considered tougher than most other competitive programming platforms, but it also helps you a lot in making sure that you perform good in these kind of interviews. And also, if you build a really good profile on HackerRank and solve a lot of tough questions, and be in their top leaderboards, then companies like Google will chase after you rather than you chasing them, right? And also you should practice. I'm really sorry for that. I'm actually having a little bit of cough. uh, and then so basically you can also search about what are the who are the competitors for HackerRank. And there is interview bit and there is Hacker Earth. So you should also go to that and see if that suits you more than HackerRank, then you should definitely take them up. So there is a data structure and algorithm course on Coursera, so you should take that course. I think it is by some Princeton University professor, which is really good. You should definitely try to take that. I think it is in two parts, so you should take both the parts. And you should never ever try to memorize an algo, understand them, because it won't strike you at the right moment when you need them most if you have simply memorized it, right? And then there is a great Ardent Detrat blog, in which he talks about programming interview questions. But I would say that this is a good starting point, and this is also a very good resource if you want to clear the data structures and algorithm sound of tier 2 companies and not tier 1 companies. For tier 1 companies, it only serves as the starting point, so you can actually go through it, because a lot of people are facing the data want to face data structures and algorithms sound for tier 2 companies as well. So they, like there are so many companies which are not as good as Google, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, and Apple, but still really great. There is Intel, Cisco, Nvidia, Broadcom, Qualcomm, Huawei, Samsung, LG. There are so many companies, right? So for them, they can actually go through it and make sure that if they have good confidence in these kind of questions, which is given in the Ardent Tetrat programming interview questions, then they will easily clear the data structure algorithm round of these kind of companies, right? And then for data structures and algorithms, there is a guy known as Tushar Roy who has got a great video YouTube channel. You can actually subscribe to that channel and go through his videos one by one. So his videos are really really great, and he also provides the code for every solution, and he basically dry runs step by step. However, one problem I found here is that in these videos he is not very clear on why those algorithms work. Okay, why that should work, right? So yeah, so basically, if you are looking for a solution and the code, and basically step by step running of and dry running of that solution, you can go through his video. But after looking at the video, you should also do a self analysis and understand why those algorithms are working and why they are behaving in the way they should behave. So I'm not blaming this guy. He has done a really great job, and it is up to us, up us, the viewers of the channel, to make sure that we are simply not memorizing the algorithms, but rather working on it and understanding it. We should not learn it by heart, but rather understand it by heart. So yeah, so that's it. And then there is also great data success and algorithms course on MIT Open Courseware, whose link also I will place in the comment section, in the video description. And then there is a great YouTube channel which is very good for beginners, and the name of the YouTube channel is My Code School, and I will place the link of that channel. I think it's a playlist and not a channel, whatever. I will be placing the links. And and yeah, and for design questions also, there Tushar Roy is doing a great job for design questions also. However, I feel that he's talking a lot about the tools which he would be using during the design. So a lot of tools that he'll be talking about you can actually ignore, because they will probably not be asked during a programming interview, not programming interview, but design round. However, it will be good if you understand what they do. So overall, I would say that this guy has done a great job. However, you can take whatever he talks about selectively, and basically understand the basic design rather than understanding the tools. So he has used a lot of tools like load balancers, memcached, Redis, basically. And then he has also used Zookeeper at a lot of places, which I don't think will be expected for you as an interview candidate. Maybe during implementation you can use. He has used maybe Kafka at a lot of places for process to process communication, but I don't think that is really expected of you while giving an interview. For software design pattern also, there is a great YouTube channel. I'll place the link. Yeah, and also when it comes to software design, what I would suggest you is that I'm writing a book, and that will be published very soon. So that will be, all in all, that book will be, if you go through that book, and in that book I will also give the references of other books that you should use in conjunction with that book. So I will not go dive deep into each and every design concepts, because I feel that in a few other books those concepts are explained really well. So I will give a brief introduction to those kind of those kind of design constants and design constructs, and then I'll basically tell the book that you should refer, and I will also point you at the right internet resource that you should be referring to. But the problem with internet is this is pretty dynamic, but books are not that dynamic, because it cannot, the book cannot just simply disappear from the market, whereas websites can. So yeah, so what I'll do is that I'll talk about the books and the free internet resources that you should be complementing it, and whenever it is required I will definitely mention it in the chapter. So the point I'm trying to make here is that you should definitely read that book for design, and until that I publish that book, these are the resources that you should go through, right? and Yeah, and a few websites that I wanted to talk about is Lead Code, Career Cup. So these are the websites that basically you should refer to before going to an interview, and you should actually search. So in Lead Code is really great. So Lead Code, I think there are some course, a list of 600 data sets and algorithms question that you should practice, and once you have mastered all of it, you will get a very good confidence in cracking the data success and algorithms interview. But the important point here is that if you're using Lead Code, then you should go all the way, basically start adding code from scratch, and basically submit the code with the output, and make sure that whatever solutions you have given is optimal as well as working, and is complete, and it has got all the edge cases covered. Only then Lead Code will help you. And then there is another website known as Career Cup, and the founder of this website is the same person, Gail Lackman McDowell. I hope I pronounced her name correctly. And she's the author of that book, Cracking Coding Interview. And her website is also good. And how I basically use it is that I basically try to get the essence of the questions asked by each company. So if I'm preparing for Microsoft, I will just search Microsoft interview questions, and there will be like some 1,000 or maybe 2,000 questions which has been asked from Microsoft. And then you can actually go through all of that. And once you have got some level of confidence, only then you should go to this website, and one by one. So how I use it is that I don't sit and solve every question that comes in Career Cup. What I do is that I make sure that I have solved this question before, or at least I know how to solve it. And also, if I'm not sure how to solve it, only then I look at the solution, and then I try to implement that solution on my own. And then here there is a very good system of rating, right? You can upvote and downvote each questions and answers, right? So you can actually rely on that to make sure that you are looking at a good question and a good answer. However, I've seen that a lot of answers that are not optimal, and that has still has scope for optimization in terms of space complexity, time complexity, or modularity or design. Still, they are rated very high simply because they are the right solution and they work. So you should be careful about it, and see that see that common people's rating with a pinch of salt. As they say, common sense is not very common, right? And then you can go for Geeks for Geeks. So good thing about Geeks for Geeks, it is its coverage. So every question that probably is asked in the interview is there in Geeks for Geeks. So how I use Geeks for Geeks, and would suggest that you too should use, is that if you're stuck with a question and you have already tried and attacked the problem and from multiple angles, and still you are not able to get a good solution for it, probably a linear solution or n log n solution or something like that, or a constant time solution, or a better space solution, still you are not able to get, only then you should search in Geek for that solution, and then see the solution, and then probably try to understand, and then come back and implement it on your own. You should not use Geek for Geek as your primary study material. You can use Lead Code as your primary study material, but never Geek for Geek. That is my opinion. Overall, I would say that they have done a really great job, and Geek for Geeks has helped not only me but a lot of people. And then the other website that basically you can check for yourself are Hacker Earth. Hacker Earth is similar to Hacker Rank, and one advantage is that if you study from Hacker Earth or Hacker Rank, a lot of companies use their competitive programming platform directly. So if you're already comfortable with it, that will give you a head start. And you can also see a little bit about interview bit, wherein basically so these people not only provide you platform for studying, but they also have a lot of companies registered with them through hire through interview bit. So they act as a kind of a job portal as well. you can actually go through interview bit and see if it suits you. And a few similar websites are CodeChef and Top Coder. I will not talk much about them. They are really good websites, and you can search for them alone. So first time a video is crossing half an hour, I think I have to make sure that in future my contents are more brief. But for now, I think you guys have to tolerate with me. Yeah, and then one more website that I wanted to talk about. So I told you that you should be in touch with the people who are your peers, and you should definitely go for meetups and conferences that happen at regular intervals. So I will talk about one of those conferences in this one of those websites wherein you can get into these kind of conferences, and that is Meetup.com. So you know what Meetup.com is that it is like a platform wherein there will be various topics, or there will be various genres, uh, and you can actually follow a couple of genres, and you can basically see that what are the meetups that is happening in your area or in your city with respect to that genre. So if you are a artificial intelligence enthusiast, you can follow the topic of artificial intelligence and see that what are the meetups that are happening in the domain of artificial intelligence. Or if you are simply a general developer, then you can actually follow the topic of software development, or follow the general sort of software development, and see that what are the good software development meetups that are happening in your area. Probably subscribe to them. A few of them are paid also, so if you are really interested and you think that it will add value, you can probably pay and attend them. And there are more websites like Meetup.com, and this is really something that is geographic specific. So it depends on which area are you from, which country and which city are you from. And hence I would suggest that you should actually search for similar kind of websites on the internet. Websites similar to Meetup.com, you can literally google this keyword and see what are the websites that are available in your area. And hence you can actually go and meet similar minded people. Networking always helps, and we've already spoken about that. I'll not speak about that more. I hope you learned something from this video. And in the next video, I'll be talking about the roadmap and the things that I'll be doing from here on to help you guys. And most of the things that I wanted to speak about, I have already covered. And in the next video, which will basically be the last video of this series, I will be talking about the roadmap of what I'm planning, and how I'll be helping you beyond this point. I think I have already given all the major pointers that is really required for you to get started. You should get so I have talked about which are the books that you should start with, which are the websites that you should basically refer, and how should you do networking, and what are the peers, how basically how you should basically play the interview game with your friends. I have spoken about most of it. I think you have enough and more material to start your preparation, and that preparation might take somewhere between 4 months or maybe 3 months to a year. In most cases it would probably take 4 to 5 months, but people learn at different rates. Some are fast learners, some are slow learner. And there are all these expertise comes with experience, but I think you have enough ammunition to go to a battle. And you should definitely battle for your for a bright future. So have a nice day. I would say that I hope you did learn something new from this video. I would really love if you share this video with your friends if you feel that they can benefit from it. Until then, goodbye.